This video is the first of a three-part series in which I'll walk through to the Pilz Safety Compendium, one of the most respected practical guides on the machinery safety and functional safety standards. In the first part, I'll cover the legal foundation, product liability, the European directives, and the standard landscape that every machine builder must understand. Part 2 and 3 will be then move into the engineering itself. Safeguard, self-control technology, self-communication, self-motion, and mechanical, pneumatic, and hydraulic design. So let's begin. First, what is the Safety Compendium? It is a reference book published by Pilz, a German company specializing in safe automation. It was written by a committee of a safety engineers, standard specialists, academics, and product liability lawyers, which is why it covers both the legal and the technical side of the machinery safety. The latest edition is organized into 9 chapters, moving logically from law to liability through standards, safeguards, and safe control technology, all the way to safe motion and fluid power design. It is available as a free download from the Pills website, and for this series I have divided those 9 chapters into 3 parts exactly as you can see on the screen. Chapter 2 deals with the product liability, and it answers a simple question: why should a manufacturer invest in safety beyond ethics? There is hard law. In Europe, the Product Liability Directive 85/374 EEC establishes strict liability. That means if a defective product injured someone, the manufacturer is liable, even without negligence or fault being proven. The injured party only has to show that the product was defective and the defect caused the damage. And a defect can exist in the design, in the manufacturing, or even in the instructions or warnings. This has applied to product placed on the market since 1990, and similar principle now exists in most industrial economics. So what does liability law means for us as engineers? Three things. First, the state of the art matters. A machine is a judge against the safety levels that was technically achievable at the time it was placed on the market. And harmonized standards defines that benchmark. Second, documentation is your defense. A proper risk assessment, test records, and validation reports are the evidence that you acted with due diligence. Third, instructions and warnings are part of the product. A perfectly built machine with a poor documentation can still be legally defective. In short, a safety, engineering, and legal protection are the same activity, done well and written well. Chapter 3 organizes the regulatory world into a hierarchy. At the top sits law and directives. In Europe, directive transposed into national law. Compliance here is mandatory. The Machinery Directive 2006/42 EU is the central one for machine builders, and it has applied since December 2009. Alongside it sits the Low Voltage Directive and the ANSI Directive. Below the directive sits the Harmonized European Standard. Standards are formally voluntarily, but they carry a powerful legal effect called presumption of conformity. If you build to a harmonized standard listed under the directives, the authorities presumes that you meet the corresponding essential requirements. And that is the exactly why standards are practical, day to day language to the machinery safety. Let's look closer at the machinery directives and CE marking. The directive defines essential health and safety requirements that every machine must satisfy before it can be placed at the European market. The manufacturer performs a conformity assessment, compiles a technical file, issues the EC declaration of conformity, and only then the CE mark. For example, a notified body may need to perform a type examination, and one point is worth stating. CE is not a quality label. It's the manufacturer's own legal declaration that the machine complies with all applicable directives, and the manufacturer carries the responsibility for it. The standards themselves are structured in three types. Type A standards define basic concepts and design principles valid for all machinery. The key one is EN ISO 12100, which defines the risk assessment and the risk reduction. The Type B standards address only one safety aspect or one type of safeguard across many kinds of machine. Examples including ENISO 13849 for safety related control system, ISO 13855 and 13857 for safety distances, ISO 14119 for interlocking device, and IEC 61496 for light curtains. Finally, the Type C standards are machine specific. For example, a presses or a packing machine, and then the rules of these is very simple. Where a C standard exists, its specific requirement take priority over A and B. The compendium also looks beyond Europe because machines are exported globally. In the United States, there is no CE equivalent. Instead, OSHA regulation governs workplace safety, backed by the consensus standards such as ANSI B11 series for machine tools and NFPA 79 for the electrical equipment for industrial machinery. Combined with a famous demanding product liability climate, China requires compliance with its national GB standards, many of which are aligned with ISO and IEC. And that is the good news for this chapter. because IEC and ISO standards increasingly from the common technical basis worldwide. A machine engineered to international standard is well positioned for almost every market it will ever ship to. Let me summarize part 1. Machinery safety rests on a legal foundation. Strict product liability makes safety a business necessity, not just a moral one. The Machinery Directive defines what must be achieved. CE marking declares it, and harmonized standards organized into type A, B, and C defines how to achieve it, with presumption of conformity as a reward. And because of ISO and IEC standards, these approaches are worldwide commonly used. Engineered to them opens nearly every market. In past 2, we move from the courtroom to the machine, risk assessment, guards, and light curtains. And the safe control technology standard ISO 13849 and IEC 62000 or 61. Thank you. That's all in the part 1. Let's move to the part 2.